Good evening, good people. Welcome to another episode of Speak with Dilys. I hope you're well. I hope you're excited. I hope you are expectant because we are going to have one of those deep conversations that we are so used to having. So, guys, as you join, please do let me know where you're watching from and do share as well. And do kind of put your name on here because some of the comments, it just has Facebook user, so I can't see exactly who it is. But guys, it would be wonderful to know where you're watching from and whether you've watched this show before and what you think of this show Speak with Dilys so far. I've never done that before, but it would be really interesting to hear what your views are on this show. So I am going to Sugar Baby Diaries. Hey, how are you? Have you watched this show before? And if you have, tell me what you think of the show. Today, we are going to be speaking about parenting. We're going to be speaking about what it's like to be able to parent compassionately but firmly, recognizing what goes on with our children. But before I go into all of that, let me first tell you who it is that you are watching at the moment. So for those of you who do not know who I am, and for those of you that will, have this shared by a friend or you will catch it on the replay, my name is Dilys. I am the host of this show, Speak with Dilys. I am the best-selling author of the book, Not This Widow, which speaks about my journey of how I managed to deal with grief. And also it teaches people how to deal with grief authentically, how to grieve authentically, not spiritually, not how society tells you to deal with grief, but how you choose to deal with grief. I teach you how to do that in the book, and it's very, very important. Unfortunately, it's something that we are all going to have to manage at some point in our lives. I'm also the author of the book Predator or Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. And this book teaches women how to spot red flags in men who may be abusive. Now, no, it is not 10 steps to finding your ideal man, but what it is many steps to finding yourself, ensuring that you are happy with yourself so that you do not attract somebody that will put you in any danger, be it sexually, emotionally, you or your kids for that matter. So two very important books out there. There is a third and fourth, but you will get to know about that at another time. I am also an event host. I am a public speaker. I'm a minister in New Glory Ministry in Romford. And what else do I do? I know I do this show. You know what? I do quite a few things and sometimes I actually forget. So there you are. If I think of anything else that I do, I will let you know. But one of the things that I am most proud of is this show. We've done many, many shows. And we've spoken about so many different things. So I'm going to first ask you guys how you are. And I'm not being cheeky. I'm not checking my WhatsApp messages. I've got some information on here that obviously I need to read out. So guys, tell me how you are. I'm going to go onto my Facebook page on here because I can see things differently. So Dr. Drew, how are you doing? Monica Martini Janke has shared my Facebook broadcast, shared to my group, Live the Life You Love. Thank you so much. So guys, as you join, please do share. Tell me where you're watching from and tell me what you think of this show if you've watched it before. So that would be really good. I haven't done that before. So let me see what's going on. So wonderful. I've had 4 shares already. Thank you so much for those of you that have joined. That is wonderful. Let me just turn the sound off because you really don't need no echo. I know I don't need an echo. Come on, turn off. Right. So this is what we are going to be talking about today. So last week I had a wonderful guest on here who was speaking about her journey, having suffered abuse and how, it led her into different paths. But what got our conversation going was really the fact that as a child, going through all of these things, she had no advocate. And it kind of opened up a whole conversation about how are we able to be present for our children and how do we interpret the things that they show us. So this is what today's show is about. So I'm going to just read it out to you because I don't memorize what the show's about. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So if you've joined, and thank you for those that have just joined. Monica says she's watching from Birmingham. Thank you for joining, Monica. Monica does it's got a really excellent group. So the group that she shared this live to is Live the Life You Love. You need to go on, you need to join that group. It's very inspirational, do a lot of fitness stuff on there. It's brilliant. So make sure that you do go check them out. Yemisi, my dear darling, says, how are you doing? Thank you for sharing the broadcast, but that's you. I know you will always do that for me. I know that. So thank you so much. and my darling Patience Century. So Patience, I'm actually the patron. Oh, that's it. That's another thing that I am. I am the first ever patron of one of the most beautiful schools I have ever had the honor and the pleasure of stepping into. And that is Fountain of Youth International School in Ghana. It's in a place called Osu. It has got the most amazing children that I have ever seen. And, you know, I absolutely love them. For those of you that aren't new to my page, you will see that I was actually there and I sang with the kids. We sang The Greatest Love of All because I had the launch of a business that I'm doing. And it was just fantastic. So it's Delicious Goods and Services. And what we do is we basically provide door-to-door service. So if you're in Ghana or Nigeria and you want to buy anything in the States or in England, it could be from a pair of socks to a missing car part for your refrigerator, Delicious Goods and Services. We do that for you. So yes, you can check us out on that as well. But let me tell you what it is that we are going to be talking about today. Right, there you go. I knew I'd find it. And actually, why am I even looking on here? Because I forgot that I put it on my computer as well. But this is what this episode is about. Guys, tell me how you're doing. In fact, before I do that, let's go back to the traditional way before I went onto this platform. If you are feeling good, show me some heart, show me some love. If you are feeling a little bit, let me know. Faye Clinton, thank you for joining. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple of hearts. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, and you know, we keep it real here. So if you're not feeling great, you need to let Auntie Dilys know, and then we will sort you out. We will give you some TLC because you are amongst family. You know, are watching amongst great people who are very supportive. This is a non-judgmental space. And that's the reason why I put together Speak with Dilys, because I felt it was an important platform to create so that we could have conversations that are not comfortable, conversations that we are not having anywhere else, but in a safe, respectful environment. You guys can bear me witness. You will never see anybody being disrespectful on this platform, unless it's some troll that has joined. The space here is always beautiful. So, you know, feel free to share your experiences. Last week, we had people disclosing the fact that they had been abused and so many things. And it was so lovely to see people, you know, being supportive, being respectful, and letting people know that, you know what, you've done well. It was never your fault. And you know what, you are a value and you're a beautiful person. So I love doing this show for that very reason. So thank you for your heart. Victoria, how are you doing? Victoria says she ready. Hi, Faye. Lovely to have you on here as usual. Guys, if you have joined, please share. And let me quickly read out to you what today's conversation is about. Are we ready as a family, community, society to re-examine how we relate to our children? Or are we satisfied that there's nothing more to learn about our children's behavior or our parenting? What does bad behavior tell us about our kids, especially if we believe that we've done everything right? Last Sunday, we had a best-selling author, survivor, and mental health professional give us an insight into the life of a child who had no advocate. How can we listen better? What help is out there? How can we parent firmly yet compassionately? How can we do away with cultural or societal standards that threaten the emotional, sexual, and mental well-being of our children? Dark Innocence is the 8th episode in Series 6 of Speak with Dilys today. So guys, before we get into it, please, if you have not shared, please do share. Hi, Adrian, how are you doing? Lovely to have you on here. I know that you're going to share. I appreciate it. And also, if you're watching via Facebook, there is an icon there with stars, and those stars enable you to give a monetary gift to show appreciation for what you watch on my show. And it enables me to be able to keep this platform going because, believe you me, everything costs money. Even for me to look half decent, it costs money. Because if I wore the same outfit every day, you'd be a bit like, what's going on? So, you know, everything costs money. Apart from my eyelashes, because they're actually mine. But the mascara costs money. But on a serious note, it does enable me to be able to come up with the content that I come up with and put things together and put things, put the platform out there so that this show is accessible to as many people as is humanly possible. So I have people watching, oh my gosh, Canada, Barbados, America, Ghana, Nigeria, all sorts of places, you know, Sweden, far and wide. And I think if we're going to start to make the kind of changes that we need to see in our communities, then these kind of conversations have to be accessible to everybody. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Adrian, for tagging people. Thank you, Anita, for being on here. I know you're absolutely exhausted, so I do, appreciate your time being on here. So this is what we're going to be speaking about our kids and about us as parents. And it's very natural and normal as parents that we feel to a great degree that we are perfect. And the reason why I say this is if you question a parent's parenting, naturally you become very defensive. Most people become quite defensive because we feel that it is just not anyone's place to make a judgment or to even question the fact that somebody might feel that you are not doing things as they would, or that it could be done better. So that in itself creates a difficulty in being able to educate people on how we can do things better and how we can do things differently. So I'm not going to pretend that I am not in that group of people. I think you naturally think, well, I'm doing my best. I know my child better than you. And therefore, what gives you either the right or the audacity sometimes to even speak to me about my child? So it's a difficult one. And I think, and I'm putting myself out there as a parent because I have been in that situation where somebody wants to speak to me about either one of my kids. And immediately it's like the antenna is up just waiting for the wrong thing to be said so that one can defend themselves. But we have to watch that. We have to watch that because what people see, if it's coming from a good place, is our blind spot. Is people seeing the things that we wouldn't typically see. And I think for that reason, it's about taking a deep breath and saying, you know what, let me hear this person out. And I think it's also necessary that when we are dealing with our children, likewise, that we take a step back when they're misbehaving to think, what is going on here? Because, and I've said this many times before, because of certain cultures that we may come from, we don't know anything about soft parenting. Quite frankly, we're not interested. All we know is that the child is bad, the child's misbehaving, and therefore something needs to be done to put that child back on the straight and narrow. And this is where we need to be careful. And I've said this many times, and I can't say it enough times, that the only way that your child can tell you that there is something going wrong in their life is through their behavior. That's the only way. They are not going to sit down and write you a letter, unless you're me. And even then, they're not going to sit down and write you a letter. They are not going to be able to find a good way of telling you certain things. But what most children will do, subconsciously and consciously, is show you what's going on through their behavior. The question is, when our children are acting in a particular way, do we understand what that behavior is telling us? Because until we are able to interpret or understand what the behavior is telling us, we will be compounding the pain that our children or fear that our children are going through a second time. And it's so important that as parents, we don't fall in that trap. That we have to make ourselves the first place that our children will go to if they are in trouble. And it's not impossible. Like with every relationship, it has to be cultivated. We cannot assume that just because we gave birth to our children, that we know them. Not at all. You have to know, like, for example, when I was growing up, my mother was extremely strict. And when I say strict, I mean strict to the point where I couldn't go to friends' houses. I remember one, I think it was Easter break, that I literally was in the house the whole of the Easter break, the whole damn time. I didn't go anywhere. If I was being taken anywhere, the driver would have to take me, the driver would have to bring me back. my mum's whole thing was she didn't want me to get involved with boys. And I'm thinking, and then she didn't want anyone to influence me or my siblings. And we used to tell our mum that, listen, the kind of kids that you've got, we would be the ones to be influencing other people's kids. Ain't nobody influencing your child. So there was a level of strictness that my mum exhibited with me that was not necessary. And I think, and in fairness to my mum, I developed very quickly. At the age of 12, I was like 5'7", 5'7", 5'8". And I was very, and when I say well developed, it's not that I had big knockers and, it wasn't like that. Actually, my boobs were quite small. But I was very shapely. And I looked about, at 12, I could pass for a 17-year-old very easily. And I was very mature for my age. And I think my mum had seen a couple of people look at me in ways that she wasn't too happy about. But instead of sitting me down and having a conversation with me to say, right, the way you look, even though I may have been 12, you look a lot older, therefore this could happen, that could happen. No. What happened was, it was this. Immediately, you can't go anywhere, you can't do, that's not realistic. And I remember, and one thing I hate is lies. I've always hated lying. But I remember telling my mum that I was going somewhere, but I was going somewhere completely different. And I remember sitting there thinking, if anything happened to me right now, my mother's got no clue where I am. It didn't make me feel happy. Maybe, I wasn't that kind of child that, could jump the wall and maybe sneak out of the house. I've been a very aware person from day dot. I always knew that if I did certain kind of drugs, I would die. I just knew. I thought if I ever injected myself with anything, I ain't waking up. And I knew that if I was ever going to do certain things, that's how I would basically change my whole destiny. Maybe I'm weird, but I just knew. But that happened in terms of me not being able to be honest with my mum because of the kind of relationship that we had. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, the reason why it's important, and why I'm saying that you've got to know your children, the number of years, and it's funny because I had this conversation with my mum recently, the number of years and the amount of energy that she spent trying to protect me from these boys, she didn't need to waste her time. Number one, I wasn't interested in the first place. And number two, I just wasn't that way inclined. The one thing I feared more than anything was teenage pregnancy in school. If you finish school, that's fine. But because I was in a school where a couple of the girls did get pregnant, and that alone was the biggest contraceptive for me. But we never had that conversation or those kind of conversations. So she was none the wiser. And I'm saying that now more than ever, we need to be speaking to our children, because there are so many other conversations that our children are having aside from us. So the conversations through social media, the conversations in their peer group, the conversations going on in society, they are all conversations going on ahead of our voices if we don't make our voices heard first. And I always say, as a parent, have those conversations with your children first, so that those other conversations in social media, society, their peers, becomes a challenge, as opposed to you being a counter argument. You've got to be the argument. Other voices have to be the counter argument, but you have got to be the one to get your voice in there first. Because as they counter, because you have the foundation, you can go back and counter again and reason with your children on a different level. But if we are going to have these conversations vicariously, it's not going to work, because no one can articulate what you want to say as a parent as well as you, the parent. Nobody can. The other day, my daughter was going out. She said, "Mum, I'm going out with so-and-so." I said, "Oh." And I teased her. I said, "Oh, is that your boyfriend?" And I was just teasing her. But I was glad that my daughter could be honest and say, "Oh, Mum, I'm going out with this group of friends. This person's going to be there. This person's going to be there. This person's going to be there." So what I would do as a responsible parent, I say, right, I need to have a couple of numbers within the group of people that you're going with. First, she wanted to read. I said, "Your backside will stay in the house." The reason being, I said, what would happen, God forbid, if I couldn't find you? I have no starting point. I have no names of anybody. Parents, know who your children are fraternizing with. I don't know why the conversation has gone this way, because this is not what I was going to be speaking about. But you know what? The Lord will always have his way, because this was not what I was going to speak about. But it's very important that we know who our children are with. I mean, let me tell you something. Do not allow society to bring up your kids. Do not be so, what's the word? Don't be silenced as a parent. If as a parent you don't like something and you want your children to do a particular thing this way, I'll give you a perfect example. I came from church really late today. I was tired. I told my daughter, season up the chicken, chop some onions, chop some peppers. I'll come and cook when I get in. I was exhausted. I was a lot later than I planned to be. So I said to her, really and truly, it's a bit of a liberty, me coming from church and having to cook when you've been in the house. So she was like, yeah, but I did do the prep, but once I start my GCSE, I'm not going to have time. I said, you will have time. Oh, but no one else has to do it. I said, I don't care about anybody else. Anybody else doesn't live in my house. You do. That's how I have chosen. So the fact that other children get their mums to do all their washing, yeah, I do Isabel's washing sometimes, and cook the food 7 days a week, not in my house. I'm not doing it. Because when your children are growing fat in university because all they can eat is takeaway because you never took your time to teach them how to cook, and their little grant money is being spent in Domino's pizzas, my daughter will be there making rice and frying some chicken. That's how I've chosen to parent her. So she goes and runs off for school and says, oh, my mother is so wicked. She's making me cook like Cinderella. Ain't no one calling my house to be asking me anything, because that's how I've chosen to raise my children. Don't allow society to raise your kids for you. Those standards and values that you want to place in them, do it. Don't allow anybody to dissuade you or make you feel that you need to get with the times. Because I've come across stories where kids have, ended up in places that they hadn't bargained for because their parents were useless. And by that, I mean, if my daughter says to me, Mummy, I want to have a sleepover, I won't automatically say no. What I will do is, I need the address, and I need the phone number, and I need to speak to the responsible adult. What can never happen is any child that I have conceived and given birth to come into my house and say, Mummy, I've got a sleepover somewhere. I'm like, all right, Isabel, that's no problem. All right, see you when you're coming back. 8 o'clock, all right, darling. I'll see you at 8 tomorrow. I'm not stupid. That is the actions of a foolish parent with no common sense, where there is no adult in the house. There was a young girl that was murdered. I think she'd gone to spend the weekend at a friend's house. But she hadn't. She actually met somebody online, and oops, I think there is something wrong with the internet. Sorry if you missed me there. I think the internet went down for a little bit. So this girl told her mum that she was going to spend the weekend with a friend. Only she didn't. She met some boy. She thought it was a boy, but it was a man online. So the day that she should have come back home, she didn't, but she told her mum that she was going to spend an extra day. Unfortunately, the person that she met was a paedophile. He ended up raping her with his friend, and they killed the girl. The mother and father only found out, I think, 2 days later when she was supposed to come home. I'm sorry. And you see, this is the thing I can't stand about these times that we live in. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be blaming the parent. Yes, we'll blame the parents. There are some things you can't prevent, but it's called going through the necessary due diligence. In fact, where I come from, it's called common sense. Your child wants to go away for the weekend or spend the weekend at somebody's house. No problem. I wouldn't say automatically, say no. I don't think that is fair. I had to go through that and I didn't like it. But then what you need to do, sorry, something's gone wrong with my thing. Right. What you need to do is ensure that you're asking the right questions. Who is the parent? And from the way the parent sounds should determine whether that child spends the night there or they keep their backside in the house. Because not all parents are responsible. So I'm just going to put that out there. Like I said, I don't know why I went down that road, but definitely I'm sure there is somebody either watching or somebody that is going to watch, and this is important for them. So let me quickly read some of your comments. Adrian, thank you so much for tagging people. If you have not shared this broadcast, please do. And if you see the stars icon on anywhere where you're watching, either my personal page or on the fan page, it's basically something that a facility that Facebook have added to people's accounts that they feel are giving good content. And it's a way for viewers to be able to support. So please, it can be as little as 89p. So it's not like I'm even, I'm a cheap date, actually, 89p. So yes, it just helps me be able to pay for this stuff. It's like £30 a month, £30 a month, and be able to do sponsored ads and all sorts of other different things that keeps me being able to be here every Sunday at 8 o'clock without fail, hell or high water. So as you've joined, please do share. And when you share, I would like you to tell me where you're watching from and what you think of Speak with Dilys so far, whether it's this episode if you're watching for the first time, or whether you're a veteran like some of you and have been watching since time immemorial. But I would like to hear what you think about this show. So Monica says, absolutely talk to your children. Agree. Sugar Baby Diary says, correct. Adrian has tagged a few more people. Thank you so much. Abdul, Jam, how you doing? Good evening to you too. Mimi Mensa, good evening to you. Deborah Giselle Ikria Ajima, what a beautiful name. She says, love it. Thank you very much. Like I love your name. And Nidra says, you're absolutely right, Dilys. The exhibition of challenging behavior normally has a root cause. It's not good to label children. There's always a plausible reason for bad behavior. Far too often, abuse in some form or another is involved. A child can either become introverted or the complete opposite, including promiscuity. Been working with young people now for 24 years. There are classic signs. Thank you so much, Anita. And I really do appreciate you putting that comment up. And sorry, if you're wondering why I keep rubbing my nose, I think I have some kind of allergy. I don't know what it is, but it's annoying. And my nose is really tiny, but there you go. But anyway, you're absolutely right. And this is why I was saying that when we label children, oh, this child is bad, this child is this. I remember I was going through a particularly difficult time when I was about 15 years of age. And for the very first time in my life, my grades dropped. Now, my grades dropping, being in a typical African household, didn't alert anyone that I was going through some stuff at the time. It was, you're not studying. And that was it. And I'm just thinking to myself, Lord, but we've got to be able to interpret the signs. You see, and this is why I'm saying that let's not compound the stress and grief and pain our children are already going through. Because when you see a child behaving badly, what they're trying to say to you 9 times out of 10 is, I am going through something. I don't know how to tell you because I'm not sure who will listen. I don't know where is safe. So any attention is better than no attention. And maybe, just maybe, somebody might be able to take their time and see that I'm going through stuff. Now, you may not have seen this if you're not Ghanaian, but I came across a video on a friend's Facebook page of these 3 really badly behaved girls. I mean, disgracefully behaved girls, 3 of them. And they were hurling insults at the president of Ghana. And, some of the language that was being used was quite disgusting. And I'm looking at these girls and I'm thinking, Lord Jesus, something I go on. But the general consensus on all the comments that were there is how bad they are. Not their behavior, they are bad. Let me tell you something. There is no child. There's no child that is born bad. Children become bad. But no child, from the moment they are born, is just a bad child. Circumstances, upbringing, exposure. Bad children are created. They are not born. Bad children, they are created. They are not born. It takes for us to sit back and think, what is going on with this child? What is this child trying to tell us? Because without exception, I've seen children with bad behavior. Aren't you noticing? I'm not saying I've seen bad children with bad behavior, that when you unpick and unpick and unpick and unpick and unpick, there's a story there. There's a story there. But we don't take our time because of our culture, especially people of color. The answer is, oh, that child just deserves a whooping. And if that was in my house, if that was the case, every single child on the continent should have exemplary behavior. But such is not the case, because look at the adults. So clearly there is a lot more that we need to look at than just looking at the behavior. We need to take our time. And I'm saying that as parents, let us again not be so proud to want to just boast to our friends on how well our children are doing and how this and how that, and speak to our kids. Find out what's going on. You see, the one thing that I'd always wanted to do, which I was never able to do it successfully, was to eat at the dinner table. Let me teach you a trick here, which actually, now that it's my daughter and I, we do that. You see, when you have dinner with the family, you have dinner with your children, it is very difficult for them to hide anything. Why? Because you are in a controlled and concentrated space where you are able to read body language, you're able to sense their moods, you're able to have conversations, and they cannot hide. Even if your child had an eating disorder, trust me, if you were having dinner every day, you'd know something is wrong. So for those of you that are watching that have got children still living at home, try, even if it's once a week, to sit down and have dinner with your children. Because I am telling you, it's virtually impossible for them to hide anything in that kind of concentrated space. Now, obviously, as teens, they often want to spend time in their room and what have you, but the one thing they can't escape is dinner time. So try and cultivate that so that you are able to, just spot certain things with your children. Mimi says, I didn't even allow my child to have any sleepover. It's a no in my house. Yep, I mean, I can understand why. Yemisi says, the relationship we had with our parents were quite different, say that again, from what we have with our kids. I think it had a lot to do with their own experiences. I'm a very hands-on parent and it's been very fruitful. The kids feel free to discuss any and everything. Absolutely. And I lived with Yemisi for a good 6 months, and she's not lying. It's absolutely, correct. Same in my house. And you're right. I think because of the modern way in which we parent, people assume that the children are somehow going to be wayward. Not so, really not so. We have to, that's why I said that we need to learn to parent firmly, but compassionately. A lot of our parenting lacks compassion. Please do not think I'm a perfect parent, because I am not. And I have gone through practically, every challenge that you can think of that a parent will go through, rebellious kids just acting down stupid, kids that you want to whoop their, you name it. I've been through it with my children. Do you understand? I mean, yesterday, I went absolutely ballistic in this house because my daughter has a habit of, when we do the washing, it's too much trouble to put the washing in the various rooms. So wherever sometimes your things will get flung, it gets flung. Now, the one thing I am a stickler for is order. And I'm always in a hurry. Now, I had this really nice black Ralph Lauren jacket, and I had a meeting on Tuesday. I turned this house upside down because I know I normally hang it up. Could not find this thing anywhere. I even said to her yesterday, I'm feeling really stressed. I cannot find my jacket. It wasn't cheap. I look, and I thought, okay, I'm going to look in the wardrobe again. This is in the spare room, Didn't I find my jacket scrunched up and flung in the wardrobe? Hey, I wanted to fling the picnic. I'm like, what do you mean? How do you? And I was so pissed. But, teenagers, but no. I'm like, mate, come on. So don't think that, I sit here and I teach this stuff and I've got these kids that have got angel wings and everything in my house is, oh, Isabel, please do this. No, it's not. There are times where it's like, be quiet, I don't have to be back. I'm just being honest. But I'm saying that the more information we have, the more we know that, okay, well, next time I'll do better. And again, relationships are meant to have their dips and their, whatever. It's normal. There's nothing abnormal about it. Okay, so, oh gosh, my nose, really, this is ridiculous. Mimi says, I actually need to read about how the stare works. Do you mean that look that you give your children where you look at them like this and they know whatever foolishness they were thinking of doing that they shouldn't do it, or if they were doing it, they will stop? Just don't have a child like mine, because when Isabel was about 3, her dad gave her that look. And she used to have this we used to call her Mickey Mouse because she had this really squeaky voice. She did something and her dad looked at her and she goes, "What are you looking at me like that for? Don't look at me like that." So clearly doesn't work on all children, but there you go. I had to be the exception. Monica says, totally agree with you. I'm always watching reality TV, murder online, etc. Kids befriend guys online, social media, thinking they're the same age as them. My daughter watches it with me in horror. Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying that there has to be that balance. Don't mollycoddle your children. Because when my daughter went out the other day, I was told, well, if her dad was here, he wouldn't let her go. I said, you're probably right, but not right, because I would have made him let her go, because there is nothing to hide. And I mean, if my late husband was here, Isabel wouldn't even have been allowed to go to Tesco. Now, from my house to the Tesco is literally 2 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. It's a 2-minute walk. And the first time I sent her to Tesco, the man was hyperventilating. I said, "You'll make this child stupido. You'll make this child mumu. Let her go." You've got to prepare your children. You expose them a little bit and you pull them back. You expose them a little bit and you pull them back. So that when you are not there, they will know how to conduct themselves. They will know how to look out for signs. They will know how to report back to you when things happen. I taught my daughter. I said, "Bells, when you go into a room, into a restaurant, you go anywhere, take a mental note of your environment." This is what I've taught my child. I said, take a mental note of your environment. Take a mental note of the people in that room. Just check if there's anybody that you don't like the look of or that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Make a note of that person, what they're wearing. Look at your exit plan. If anything happened, how do you get out? I teach my children these things. There's no such thing as positive, passive parenting. The 3 Ps. There is no such thing. You have got to be purposeful. You've got to be intentional. You've got to be deliberate. That's how you parent. And I teach my daughter these things. It is important. I said, when you get on the bus, same way, public transport. Why? Because I've been followed. I was sexually assaulted on a train. I have been followed more times than I can count. That's a whole other show. You understand? So it's very important that we know how to parent our children in these modern times. Really important. Let me see what other comments you have on here. Thank you, Dilys. Some African parents are unapproachable and really hard to confide in. Let me even make it better for you, Anita. Me, I'm a minister. New Glory Ministry, Romford. In fact, we're even having a lovely event on the 19th of November. So if you would like to come, join us. I'm going to be hosting that evening. And it's just an evening of celebration, of song. So please do come down. It's 12 Bridge Close in Romford. So I'm just letting you know. But let me tell you something. Some of our Christian parents, they put the C in clueless. You can't afford to do that. You probably need to be more aware of what's going on around you than the average person. You can't allow, just because you're a Christian or you're in church, to be oblivious to what's going on. If your child wants to go out, let them go. Because what's going to happen is they're going to be ill-prepared to deal with the real world. It's very important. Very, very, very important. So we need to be able to sometimes sit back a little bit and have confidence in what we've taught our kids. Because if you've taught your child to be sensible for the last 16 years, at some point you're going to have to test what it is you put in them. You don't go to school from nursery and then just sit your GCSEs and that's the first exam you ever sit. No, you will have different things that you have to go through to show that which you have been taught, that there is understanding and there is application. Parenting is no different. Do not think that you've done anything positive with your kids if you've not allowed your children to be tested. You have to allow that test. Then you will know what you need to go back to the drawing board and look at again. Okay, so let me read some more of your comments. Sugar Baby Diary says, no parent is perfect. We try our best, but keep learning all the time. Hopefully we keep learning. Mimi says, I don't know how Sending stars works. Oh, bless you. Okay, so when you go on to the, if you're using the Facebook app, let me see if I've got it on here. You'll see that there is a star kind of icon. You can click it and then it will come up with 89p to send X amount of stars, or 50 stars, or 200 stars, or whatever. It's on there. So, oops, hold on. So you can do it that way. I am just going to look on my phone to welcome some people. Mamiya Amankwa, thank you for joining. Odi Ajibayo, thanks for watching. And Deborah Giselle Ikuya Ajimai as well. She says, love it. So guys, keep your comments coming. And I still haven't seen where some of you are watching from. So Sugar Baby Diaries, where are you watching from? And what do you think of Speak with Dilys so far? Anita, all of you, what do you think of the show thus far? So yes, very much a conversation that we do have to have so that we can parent more effectively. Listen, there is so much coming at our children, but at the same time, there is so much coming at us as parents, where we have our values, we have our standards, but society, school, and what have you saying, no, those standards aren't modern. Those standards aren't relevant in today's world. And therefore, you can't apply them. You have to put your foot down. But it's easier to put your foot down when you have a relationship. Otherwise, your kids will not take you seriously. If all they experience from you is instruction, then they will be rebellious. The way you win is through relationship. Hi, Temitokwa, how are you doing, my darling? Where are you watching from? Let us know. It is through relationship. And this is why it's important that we keep on cultivating that relationship. Like I said, don't get it twisted. I have my challenges because I'm a parent. I am not some celestial being. I'm not superhuman. But I have confidence that however left it may go at times, that which I have instilled will definitely have to work at some point. And that really is the confidence that you should have as a parent, knowing that whatever you have put in there, it will bear fruit in its due season. You're from, Temitokwa says, I'm fine. I'm from Ogun State, Nigeria. Well, welcome. I have many Nigerian friends. I love all of them. So wonderful that you're on here. Sugar said, UK, the most informative show on social media, the best open and honest discussions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But I try to make it open and honest. I'm very open. I'm very honest. I don't pretend. That's why I'm saying that, look, as a parent, even as I speak to you, I have a challenge at the moment, even as I speak. But the one thing I've also come to realize is that even when you have issues with your children, you cannot sell your child down the river to defend yourself. Our kids do some dumb things, very stupid, but you have got to just stick with it and have confidence in what you have instilled. The Bible says that train the child in the way in which he goes, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. When that word growth is not age, it means maturity of that which they have been taught. That once they get it, they will not depart from that which has been instilled in them. That's what I hold on to. That's what every parent should hold on to. Be confident in what you've taught your children. Listen to your children. And listen to the actions of your children. Like I said, not every child will be able to articulate what has gone on. So rather than go in there, nowadays you have become very, very bad. You've become very, very, just observe. Oh, I've noticed that my child's behavior has changed. When did it change? What happened around this time? Who were they hanging with? What was going on? So before you go in with your big size 12s, do some background work and see what is happening with your children, and try through a process of elimination, figure out what might be going on. You see, when they say the power of a praying parent, I may not be able to tell you the details, but my daughter, when was it? 2 weeks ago, something happened and I was really annoyed. And I was giving her a telling off. And just as I was walking to the bathroom, I heard a voice say to me, something else happened. I went back into the living room and I said, right, talk to me. Oh, no. In the end, she spoke to me. But that comes through relationship, and it comes through prayer. I'm not going to lie to you. That comes through relationship. So if I was one of these parents that I was so, as my mum would say, so one plug, that just because the behavior was not how I wanted it to be, that means I'm concentrating on the behavior. I took a step back. I said, no, there's something bothering this child. There's times when, and I have to keep my voice down because she'd be so pissed if she isn't talking about her. There's times where if she's missing her dad, because where her dad is buried, my daughter, she's a ninja, I'm telling you. Where my daughter's father is buried, she passes that road nearly every day to school. Unfortunately, I think one day last week, there was a problem with the buses. So the buses took a detour and went into the hospital, the last place my late husband was. And that just set her off. But she didn't tell me immediately. I got that information after having to tell her off for not doing something. Do you understand? And then eventually, because she would always come and say to me, oh, I didn't have a good day. But it was the next morning. Oh, I didn't have a good day yesterday. I said, well, what's going on? I miss Daddy. I said, I know. I always have a lump in my throat when she says that because I can't make it better. There's nothing I can do. But I look at the behavior and I'm like, okay, something is happening. I may not know what it is, but at least the behavior alerts me to have a conversation I need to have. And I'm saying that, look, some of the times where the child is being so bad, and thankfully I've not had that, but when the child is being so bad, sometimes there's a sexual abuse issue going on. Sometimes, and normally you'll find, just as Anita said, the child either becomes very introverted or becomes uncontrollable. But if you look at the uncontrollable, the child's just bad, who are you hanging with? Hey, and that is what I guess last week was saying, that because she was from an affluent home, middle class, had everything that she wanted, lived in a lovely house, both parents with great jobs. It's like, well, what possibly could be wrong with you? You have, the lifestyle of a princess, and therefore you have no right to misbehave. So rather than that being an indicator that, but this child has got everything, so there must be a reason why, it became, there can possibly no reason why. Yeah, there can possibly be no reason why. And that is what led a situation there could have been proper intervention. There wasn't. Where there could have been advocacy, there wasn't. And that's why I'm saying that who becomes a voice for our children when they need a voice, if we are so caught up with how bad they are? Our children are never bad. Their behavior can be bad, but no child is born bad. And we should never, and if we have been telling our children that they are bad, then we need to quit it. We need to address the behavior. And it's something that I was taught very early on in my parenting, where I was told that you don't, I think I learned that in church actually, that you don't ever tell a child they're bad, always address their behavior. Because you'd be surprised. With, I guess last week, she was saying because she was told she was bad all the time, she began to believe it. And we know that is right, because if we tell our children how wonderful they are, that they can do anything, eventually they're going to believe it. They would truly believe that they are invincible because mummy or daddy or both said, I am amazing and I can do anything. And therefore we have to realize that the reverse, it also works in the reverse. You're bad, you're so bad, you're so bad, you're so disrespectful, you're so this, you're that. Well, yeah, okay, cool. Let me be disrespectful. Let me be bad. Oh gosh, my nose. If I could take it off and put it aside and stick it back after doing the show, I would. Oh, and I'm trying to diplomatically rub it, but it's not working. I think I have some, I don't know what it is. Oh gosh, the only thing I'm allergic to is poverty. Anywho, William says, watching you from Spain as usual, government now is trying to usurp the role of parents in the lives of children. Oh yeah, and there are many governments like that, especially Canada. Those people, some of their rules are so weird. Very, very crazy. Mavis is watching from Orlando, Florida. Thank you so much for watching, Mavis Hajikum. Monica says, I talk to my girls every day, asking how they feel. How was their day? They can talk to me about anything. It's so important. And you see, even like I said, food is a powerful thing. When I used to manage, one of the things I used to do, and I think I've mentioned this before, in our team meetings, is I would buy food. I would use my own money to do a beautiful spread. Drinks, sandwiches, chicken, you name it. Why? Because when people are eating, they feel relaxed. You know, they feel relaxed and they let their guard down. That's why it's important to eat with your children at the table. Very, very, very important. All right, let me see if I can read, because I'm seeing some comments on here and not on here. So, Afolabi, how are you doing? I didn't see you joining on there. So lovely to have you on here. Monica, yes, I think I've read your comment. Prince Mubarak, thank you for joining. If this is your first time, do let me know and let me know where you're watching from. And I think I have caught up. Oh, I've got Eva Vieira Alate as well. And it says 6 other people, but I can't open that. But guys, yes. So I'm still waiting for you to tell me what you think of Speak with Dilys thus far, what you like about the show, because we are now more than halfway through series 6, which would mean if I do come back, it will be the 7th series of Speak with Dilys. And I am in that space where I am thinking about it, whether there will be a 7th. So I will definitely let you know. Good evening, Afolabi. Lovely to have you on here. We're talking about children and about parents. I mean, Afolabi's wife actually is a pastor, and her ministry is about parents, and it's called the Praying Parents. So it's very interesting that Afolabi just jumped on here. So I probably should have mentioned to his missus that this is what we're going to be talking about. But it is important that we are able to have these conversations so that we're equipped that bit better. You know. So I'll give you an example. I got called into school a little while ago, maybe last year, for something that was said that they were not happy with. There were a group of children, and Isabel was in that group of kids. And it involved a teacher. And what was said, and I can't go into it for obvious reasons, but what was said during part of that conversation from the assistant headmaster or the head of something, he said, under no circumstances is it allowed for a child to accuse a teacher of anything. I said, that's for that one, I will not have that rubbish. I said, no. I said, it is a very dangerous stance to take. What you should be teaching the children is that if they have an issue, that they must follow the set protocol. But what you cannot and what you should never tell a child is that because it involves an adult, that they are not allowed to have a voice. I said, not on my watch. He had to relent. He had to say, I take your point. I said, oh, I know you would. I know you would. And we must always have that avenue for children to be able to speak. Again, culture plays a big part. Where I come from, there's a saying that says, an adult is never wrong. Penny default. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. Because if you're a stupid child, you grow up to be a stupid adult. And you're telling me that adult, just by virtue of the fact that they've clocked some years, they can't be wrong. They were wrong as a picnic, they were wrong as an adult. But that's part of our culture, you know. Now you see people like me that is a nonconformist. I have a very analytical and inquisitive mind. Things have got to make sense. So I will ask, but again, we don't encourage that in certain cultures. You do as you're told, and it's okay to a degree. But as parents, as a community, we need to start to make local changes at home. Some of us have to address the issues we had as children with our parents, because it has influenced our parenting style, not always positively. Sometimes we are too lenient, too apathetic, for want of a better word, because of how strict maybe it was when we were growing up. But you see, with life, everything has to be balanced. Everything has to be balanced. Once things are balanced, then we're balanced. So it's not good to veer too close to the left or too close to the right. Be in the middle so that you can be an effective parent, but you can also, to a degree, be a friend. And I've heard people say, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent, but you can be both. You can be both. I'm the kind of parent that we could be laughing and joking, but you put a foot wrong, I will check you quickly. I will switch very, very quickly. But you can be both. But what you must always be is a safe space and a haven for your children, so that no matter what they are going through, they know that if I go to mum, no matter how bad it is, if I go to dad, I'm all right. Let me quickly read what Mavis has just written. So, Dilys, my mum was strict also. Growing up, I always compared her to my friends' mums, who basically gave them all access. I understood her when I grew up and noticed that all she did was out of love for us. My father died at an early age, so she was playing two roles. Raising my teenage daughter makes me understand her more. If you don't have a good relationship where they are free to talk to you about anything, they'll turn to the internet for advice, which opens the wrong doors. Totally wrong. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And as I'm saying, you make sure that your voice is the first voice, and that you are not the counter argument. You've got to get your voice in there, because there's so many things coming against our children. It's not even funny. But, you're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. I'm not even going to. I make mistakes. But with our children, they're always going to know that it's coming from a good place, if it is coming from a good place. Because our children should never doubt that we love them. And yes, you're going to have, those moments where you don't love me and blah, 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 but it will pass. Because the one thing they don't do is lie to themselves. It's just an emotion that they want to act out, wherever they want to act it out. But fundamentally, we have got to be that advocate for our children. If our children come and say something to us, we must believe them. If they say that they don't feel comfortable, you must listen to them. If they don't want to go and hug Uncle so-and-so, don't force them. When anyone says, oh, do you want to give Auntie a hug? Oh, give Auntie. I'm like, They don't want to give me a hug, don't force them. Boundaries. The one thing with my daughter when she was small, she hated being picked up. And I did used to snigger, actually, because when people wouldn't listen to me and we were in church and they'd pick her up, she was rude, She would kick her legs. She would go wild. She'd be like a wild animal in a cage. And I'd just laugh and I'd just say, I told you, she doesn't like being picked up. But I taught her from an early age that her body is hers, and what she doesn't want, she doesn't have to have. So, today's conversation I'm really pleased about, because I feel that it's a conversation that maybe not what I planned to speak about, but most certainly I think was necessary. And I think it was just about that time that we needed to hear it. So thank you so much for watching. I am going to be going off now because it is 1 minute past 9 and I was on time, I think. Or was it I'm like 3 minutes past? What's a couple of minutes between friends? But yes, so please, if you haven't given any stars, which is, as I explained, is a monetary support for my show, for people that give content like this. It is so helpful. It might not be a lot to you, but for me, it is very, very helpful, and it enables me to be able to just, keep on going. It's not easy doing this. But I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I said, listen, some people are called, some people are self-appointed. I believe I am called, because I tell you something, unless you're called, I don't think you can sit here every Sunday at 8 o'clock to do this. I literally came from church because I had to get public transport to get back home. And I walked through the door, gone 6. I came and made coconut rice, fried some chicken, made some hot sauce, sat down, wolfed down my lunch, dinner, I don't even know what it was at that point. Ran upstairs, tried to fix my face. I didn't realize I didn't shave my mustache properly, so somebody saw it in church. So I had to go and do this. So, you don't think that you're speaking to David and not Dilys. So, yes, so I had to just get myself together, sit here. So since I left my house at 10 o'clock this morning, I haven't had any rest, but this is important. these conversations are important. They are as important for you as they are for me. I don't sit here on a pedestal like I've got it all right, so I'm coming to teach you people that don't know anything, my dear. We are all in this together. I have a 16-year-old, sometimes acts like she's 6, and other times like she's 66, you know. So we're all trying to figure this thing out. So the little that I know, I come and share. I listen to your experiences, and I hope and pray that we can learn together. I put together this show so that we could start to begin to make effective changes within our communities. But we cannot do that if we're not making the effective change in our home. That is our immediate space. That's where charity begins. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to learn. You may think I'm teaching, but I'm learning, because as I'm speaking, it's like I have an out-of-body experience, because I minister every Thursday. So if you're interested, if you inbox me, I'll let you know. I minister at New Glory Ministry. We have an online service every single day, 7 days a week. And I minister every Thursday. And every time I minister, when I record it and I listen to it, and I listen to it as if some woman was preaching, some woman was giving the word, and I'm learning. So never think for a moment that I come on this show because I've got it all figured out. It's a lie. I haven't got it all figured out. I am a work in progress like yourselves. My parenting is a work in progress like yourselves. Everything is a work in progress like yourselves. When I arrive is when I'm dead. That's when I've arrived, because there's no more that I can do and no more that I can bring to the table. So thank you so much. God bless you, Pt2. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Akuya. Thank you, Sharon. And thank you. Facebook user, I think, would be Shirley. I think that's how your name, I'm assuming here. Adrian, all of you guys. She says, Dilys, greetings, one and all. Apologies for the lateness. No, don't worry, my love. No. Put your name there, please, because that comment I know is not Shirley. Yemisi says, brilliant topic. Thank you so much, sis. I really appreciate you. So, guys, I am going to run off. I've given you 3 minutes. I've given you 3 minutes. You don't want to give me stars here. Pt2 says, yes, I'm a work in progress. We all are. If we're going to be honest, we all are. Adele, thank you so much. Always lovely to see you on here. Always a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed today. Please, if you have not shared, please share. If you watch these shows and you find value in it, why keep it to yourself? So please do share, guys. Have a wonderful week. I shall see you by the special grace of God next week. I should have a guest next week. As to who they are, I don't know. As to what we're going to be talking about, I don't know. But I'm going to let you know. And if you would like to appear on Speak with Dilys, and you feel that you have a story to tell that we could learn something from, please do let me know. I would be very, very happy to hear from you. Thank you so much. Sharon says, God will continue to grant you the wisdom needed always. God bless you. And yes, I know that wisdom comes from above. So I'm grateful for that too. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, guys. I am going to get in the shower, heat up my hot water bottle, cuddle it like it's my man, and I'm going to sleep. Aisha Ankara, oh, my darling sister, such a shame. We're just about to go off, but thank you, Aisha. Aisha is another wonderful human being that's been so supportive of me personally and my show. And just want to say I love you, sis, and God bless you all. If I follow you people, I'll be here till 10 o'clock. Bye-bye.